Prince Turki AL FAISAL, welcome to WPC TV. You are, I think, well known to everybody here, but let me just reiterate, you are former head of Saudi intelligence, former Saudi ambassador to the United States, and frankly, one of the most acute observers of the political scene in the world today. So,
thank you very much.
Well, this is not empty flattery.
No.
Take the Middle East at the moment. The Middle East is always a sensitive area. But how do you see the Saudi role now, especially regards Syria and also the potential rapport between the United States and Iran?
The kingdom has had a long-standing role in the Middle East, not only based on its identity as the birthplace of Islam and the original area from which Arabs came, but also on the fact that it truly upholds or tries to uphold the principles of the United Nations Charter, particularly when it comes to helping others and engaging with the world community in what would presumably be a means to avoid sickness, disease, poverty, ignorance, bigotry, inhuman suffering, etc., etc. And as such, within the community of Arab nations, it was always a country that reached out to her fellow Arab countries to overcome whatever challenges have faced us. If you look at the Palestinian issue, for example, from the beginning, the kingdom was in the lead role with other Arab countries to try to restore to the Palestinians their unalienable rights.
Of the Lebanese Civil War.
In Lebanon, the kingdom was instrumental in bringing the Lebanese together to allow them to overcome their difficulties, and so on. So in the present day, when we have so many troubles spread throughout the Arab world, from North Africa all the way east to the Arabian Gulf, naturally the kingdom is trying to help in overcoming whatever problems there may be. That's one aspect. The other aspect you asked about is American-Iranian rapprochement. We've never considered that geography can change. So whoever your neighbor is, you're going to stay with them forever. And with our Iranian neighbor, of course, we've been there for thousands of years, and we will continue to be there. We have an embassy in Tehran, and Iran has an embassy in Riyadh. King Abdullah met with the previous president, Ahmadinejad, for example, during his term, I think 4 or 5 times. Our foreign ministers have met during conferences and on trips, visiting the kingdom and so on, many times. So we engage with Iran, and hopefully our engagement with Iran will improve the relationship, not just between us and Iran, but also between other countries in the area and Iran. So if the United States engages with Iran, we don't see any problem with that. Whatever concerns we have, it is from the US and Iran, or the US or any other country doing things behind closed doors that we don't know about. And if you look at how this recent 5+1 agreement with Iran on the nuclear issue, the US practically worked behind everybody's back.
What, do you think they
with
could have
Iran.
gone so far if they hadn't?
Well, that's not the point. The point is that we have been, for nearly 75 years or so, very close friends of the United States. We've gone through thick and thin. We've had our disagreements. But nonetheless, the kingdom, I think, feels that it is a very close friend of the United States and deserves to be included in whatever engagements the US has in the area.
Yeah.
And that is why also, not just I, but I think other officials in the kingdom and Saudi citizens feel that the 5+1 and Iran equation is missing a vital partner, which is the Gulf Cooperation Council, when it comes to negotiating over issues that affect us directly.
Yeah.
Iran's nuclear program, regardless of whether it is going military or not, even if it is not, the potential for risk in any nuclear installation in that area affects us directly, and more directly than it affects the 5+1.
True enough.
So from that aspect alone, we should be part of the negotiations.
I take your point. Now, but I mean, you mentioned at the beginning that Saudi Arabia, is the birthplace of Islam,
Right.
the protector of Islam. But clearly there are tensions.
God protects Islam. We serve
True enough.
Islam and Muslims.
True enough. But I mean, there is obviously a tension between the Sunnis and the Shias.
Oh yes.
And I mean, at the risk of sounding simplistic, between a Saudi-led Sunni ideology and an Iranian Shia ideology. How do you calm these tensions?
The Sunni Shia issue has been with us for nearly over 1,000 years.
Indeed.
So we're not going to solve it tomorrow. But what the kingdom has done under the leadership of King Abdullah is that last year, 2012, the king, during the holy month of Ramadan, called for an Islamic conference, summit conference, in the holy city of Mecca, at which the issue of Shia-Sunni dialogue was the main topic. And in that conference, attended by all the heads of state of the Muslim world, and there are 57 Muslim countries in the world, including Iran, they agreed to set up a center for Sunni Shi'i dialogue in the holy city of Medina, where the Prophet's mosque, peace be upon him, is and where his grave is. And so that is where the kingdom is geared towards going, is to bring Sunni and Shia together.
Let me, just as a final question, bring you back to
Yes.
Syria.
I never left Syria.
I know. But, I mean, you have jihadist groups there now.
Yes.
You have the, I suppose that should have the secular opposition fading away in terms of its ability to fight the regime. What is the solution to the Syrian crisis?
Syria is a festering wound. And if you look at our last interview together, Syria was a prominent topic at that time. And I remember saying, this is two and a half years ago, that if this fight continues, it's going to get even more bloody than it was at that time. And unfortunately, that's how it has come to be. Festering wounds will collect the worst bacteria. And unless you suture the wound and clean it, the bacteria will remain there. And all these groups, whether they're called jihadis or terrorists or extremists, and they're Sunni and Shia. They're there because this is where they thrive in a situation of conflict. I would disagree with you that what you describe as the secular opposition.
Well, I put it in quotation marks.
Right. I would call it national opposition because it represents all the rainbow of Syrian society. And it was the originator of the revolution at the beginning. I don't think it is fading away. What I do believe is that because it never got the legitimate support that it deserved from the beginning and which we in Saudi Arabia were calling for, at least to be able to protect the Syrian people from the killing machine of the Assad regime. Assad has aircraft, he has tanks, he has Scud missiles, not talking about his use of chemical weapons. And the opposition has nothing to defend themselves with. So, lacking that capability, they have not been able to present themselves as the protectors of the Syrian people. Yet, if you look at the map of Syria and see where, for example, the Syrian Free Army is, in complete control or semi-complete control, it's all over Syria. In the neighborhoods of Damascus, in the neighborhoods of all the major cities, in some of the neighborhoods of all the major cities, not just around them. This is a sign of the struggle, and the struggle is a civil war now. And you will see ascendance at one time for one group, and then at another time for another. And unfortunately, the world is sitting back and not doing anything to stop the fighting.
Well, we have to hope the world will change and at some point the war will end.
I hope the Geneva too will get us somewhere.
Indeed. Prince Turki AL FAISAL, we have to end it there. Thank you so much for being with WPC TV. Thank you.
Thank you.
Shukran.